In Destiny, welcome to Neomuna, where the very air you breathe is saturated with untapped challenge run potential. In this low-budget version of Cyberpunk 2077, damage doesn't just lurk in the shadows, it breakdances in the neon lights. In this city, you can bet that danger is your constant companion, as at any moment you can be sniped by a Cabal with heat-seeking eyeballs, slapped by a Vex who doesn't know how much danger he's actually in, or suffer the wrath of Bungie's uneven geometry, combining forces with their physics engine to absolutely decimate my last remaining ray of hope. The electric embrace of Destiny's most mediocre city hosts your Hot Wheels father figure. Battered and bruised by years under my luxurious dumpster, I will descend into the Lightfall campaign on legendary difficulty, where I'll do my best to conjure an Olympic-level gymnast to avoid all forms of damage, as well as I do my taxes. We'll reset so many times that during my daily commute home from work, every tree starts to look like a tempting target for me to wrap my car around. The enemies on Legendary go from not hitting you from foot-sniffing distance to curving bullets around the circumference of the planet directly into my sternum like they're Halo 2 jackals on Legendary. By the time this challenge is done, we'll have developed a newfound respect for those of the Tormentor variety, because believe it or not, these Tormentors hit harder than your dad when you forget it's trash night. So join me, Papa Rylee, your budget-bound hero, as I vacuum out what remains of my shattered ego and witness the greatest erosion of my mental health since the No Grenade Shatter Dive video. As we pose the question, can you beat Lightfall on Legendary without taking damage? The year is definitely in the future at some point, and finally, our ancient enemy has revealed themselves to be an absolute cutie of a Pixar villain with tragically sculpted eyebrows. This paracausal turd smoker tanks all the travelers' milk bean DPS and then slices a man in half like an anime protagonist, sheathing their sword. During the height of this cinematic battle for our home, against what could only be considered the most powerful being that we've ever faced, both this crusty old cum stain and I decided to ghost this loser fest. Imagine your best soldier, a god killer, the only guardian that actually made a massive difference in the grand battle for the universe. Just said adios, boss. I then cling to the side of this ship like a barnacle thirsting for adventure. The secret to my ape-like strength and godlike sexual presence. Flintstones vitamins, people. We sneak on board like we're Agent 47 without lethal assassin training or a functioning frontal cortex. But before we descend into this dumpster fire of a challenge, I'm gonna need to once again disrespect my ancestors by putting together a build. Papa Rylee, your Walmart wisdom guru, believes that knowledge is overrated and that thinking past midnight leads to questionable life choices. Normally, I couldn't outsmart an unmotivated amoeba, but ever since that Warlords Ruin solo flawless video, my chains have been unbound. Oh yeah, it's big brain time. The next order of official business was finding a way to fight back without accidentally winding up on the Vanguard Wall of Heroes. On Legendary, these Cabal are more mutant roid beasts than soldier, and I am the unfortunate target of their aggression. Forget hit and run tactics. I needed the build equivalent of hitting the panic button when things get dicey in close quarters. Strand gives me the gift of triple melees, and necrophilia grips take it even further with that sweet, sweet poison. The melee basically transmogs itself into a grenade. I can lob from across the map and then vanish like a fart in the wind. Strand in this tactical environment is less about power and more about maximizing laziness, with a side of child endangerment. Down the hatch goes a spicy meatball, and out pop these little abominations, ready to shield their deadbeat internet father figure from harm. Their beady little eyes scream, "We didn't sign up for this." But too bad, kiddos, daddy's KD ratio is on the line. Now get in there and make some abstract art. I then slapped on some aspects and fragments, carefully crafting a symphony of half-baked chaos. My thorn, lacking its catalyst, is only a minor inconvenience when you've got a poison combo hot enough to rival the fires of Mount Doom. My Hot Wheels reject of a sniper rifle might look questionable, but with a little elbow grease and a lot of hope, it'll do the trick. And of course, my trusty duct tape enhanced cataclysmic is always ready to add a touch of a quick death to anything with a crit spot. This might look haphazard, but as a warrior with a never back down mentality and a give give 'em hell attitude. There's nothing that could slow this mess of mismatched mayhem down. Crawling through these vents, Osiris acts surprised about my stowaway status. He's the supposed warlock prodigy who, after all my encounters with him, I'm pretty much convinced couldn't outsmart a houseplant. Maybe if he wasn't too busy brooding and fleeing all the time, he'd have noticed. Our enemies are playing with reality warping powers, and with Sagira gone, Osiris is about as threatening as a wet noodle. It's like watching a perpetually confused grandpa, fresh off his iron pills, try to fight off a horde of cosmic demons in his bathroom. This Count Kellogg over here might be on the same struggle bus of a no-hit run, but at least I can fall back on the fact that I'm an immortal godslayer who can reanimate from the dead. We move through the ship until the first reset. It was courtesy of a scion trick-shotting me as they floated up to the side. I use my signature ninjutsu of return to orbit, and when I make my encore, it's with a vengeance. But as with all things Bungie, just to give me a reality check, they drop Solid Snake in scion form out of nowhere to deliver a dollar store slap directly onto my forehead. With a quick trip back to the stratosphere, I return to deliver that ever so sweet, righteous Hot Wheels fury. Finally, after 20 minutes of maneuvering through the bowels of the ship, we roll into the engineering bay. And let's just say that after that steroid-infused Ninja Turtle beatdown, the only thing I could think of was I'm engineering my fucking limit. 12 rage quits and a therapy bill later, and I finally limped out of there victorious. My guns hit like a hive god's wrath after they've extinctified an entire species, making rooms clear faster than my hopes and dreams. The further away I am, the deadlier I become. I hit a couple of your standard reset maneuvers on my way to the main event of this mission and get ready to face the Tormentors. I swear the Tormentors must have had Bungie swap their usual warlock cracking testosterone for decaf, because these muscular chicken Brents couldn't intimidate Need Easy Dreg, a sentence that in my hubris I most certainly wouldn't come to regret. With my cat-like reflexes and questionable heavy weapon choice, I make short work of it.
First, discombobulate. Distract target. Discombobulate. Block his blind jab. Discombobulate. You'll attempt Wild Haymaker. Discombobulate.
It still caused me to reset once, but after it was already shaking hands with God, it was finally time to meet Osiris at the drop pods. Our favorite troglodyte strapped himself into his booster seat and was fired off towards Neptune, without thinking about the dangers of entering a drop pod made for a hulking Cabal soldier, because thinky, make brain hurty. I board the drop pod. Upon landing, in order to get the advantage of distance, I try to pull off some sick aerials and use the height advantage of these buildings on the side as a sniper's nest. But Bungie, and their quest to never let me be happy in life, place more invisible walls than a goddamn mime convention. One return to form orbit adventure later, and we get to meet Nimbus and Rohan. Sadly for them, their illustrious mystique was stolen when Guardian Games hooked me up with the hottest ride this side of the system. With my sweet new skyboard, I can shred those Cabal goons like the gnarliest half-pipe in existence, and dance circles around these turbo virgins. About as good as my cousin Throckmorton. They say the only things a Guardian truly fears are architects, and those dreaded Scorpion turrets. Forget war gods and ancient evils, robotic turrets are the true enemy of the state. Then, to add insult to injury, a war beast sneaks up on me and gnaws on the drumsticks of this godlike chew toy. Despite all that, I finally reach the Strand source. I extend my hand out to reach into the woman empowerment and claim my Zenkai boost to go ape shit on these Cabal. I spam supers off like a kid who stole their mom's credit card to buy V-Bucks, and since no power trip lasts forever, I suffer another 2 humiliating resets before fate delivers the ultimate revenge. Popeye's chicken-induced stomach cramps slow me to a crawl as the chicken-based laxatives finally enter my bloodstream. Suddenly sweat-drenched and demoralized, I'm not so super anymore. In my wretched state, I then watch as Nimbus and the tragic sacrifice put on a show in a textbook slaying of Cabal. But let's be real, after the massacres I've committed, their little skirmish looks like a ballet recital. I kill more dregs on your average Tuesday than these two freaks of science. Even my damaged Traveler's Chosen has racked up more kills than this dynamic duo. You can practically hear the ghosts of the Hive, Vex, and those perpetually bewildered Fallen screaming in its grip. Once the dust has settled, our favorite dementia patient bursts out of his space hamster ball ready to rumble, and immediately gets humbled by the 9-foot-tall, ridiculously ripped nanomachine son cyborg, marking the fact that I beat first contact without taking damage. Under Siege felt like a spa day compared to the rest of this nightmare challenge. I immediately channel my inner Tony Hawk Master Debater 3 by nearly dying within 5 seconds of using my new skill skimmer. I trick my way to the active war zone. The energy of being a skater boy flows through me and pilots me directly into the line of enemy fire. By miraculously mashing my buttons, I manage to style my way to safety without getting hit. Then it's off to the city streets where I turn into a bargain bin John Wick, sniping the Vex and Cabal soldiers like they just insulted my dog. Slow and Steady might not be the cinematic masterpiece you expect when you sit down for your favorite Destiny Hot Wheels enthusiast, but it beats taking another reset, sacrificing precious hours of my life. Osiris reads my mind by saying I'm wasting my time.
Let's find ourselves a workaround.
So long as we don't waste any more time.
As though he knows I'm running a no-hit challenge run in a first-person shooter on the hardest difficulty. Little does he know that it's pressure that creates diamonds, and with each bullet that grazes my soft warlock body, well, let's just say that I've got 20 pounds of coal up my ass! Once the battle for the streets is complete and I've unlocked the gate by hiding at the other side of the mission, draining shots like I was Kobe pre-helicopter, it was time to enter the boss room. My ghost feels the full force of those cursed Popeyes tendies.
Something is wrong. I feel drained.
I've read the fine print on those buttermilk packets there, my friend. You play the buttermilk ranch roulette, you pay the porcelain tax. So Witness pulls a dirty trick, sucking my super clean out of me and forcing me to fight like it's the pre-golden age. Banging knuckles the old-fashioned way with muzzle flashes and gun smoke. After my rigorous no-light training, I am feeling confident until a Scion sends me into low Earth orbit with enough psychic force to make Professor X come. This mission's reset number 1. I respawn and instantly get sniped by a Cabal with the world's longest barrel attachment, marking reset number 2. Somehow, I managed to beat the boss with only 2 resets under my belt. Looking back now, I wish I could tell myself that my faith was misguided because the things that happened to this parking lot prophet in the near future was downright vile. Callus then hijacks my ghost like I haven't learned my lesson about creepy power-hungry entities possessing my best bud from Shadowkeep or Beyond Light and remote links into his Windows operating system to use him like a webcam. With my ghost feeling violated and drained like they just spent 10 hours playing Iron Banana, I assured him that next time we'll order from KFC to avoid the diarrhea dungeon. Little did he know, I was just damning him in a completely different way. Missions like Downfall might as well be my gamer tag at this point. As the missions progress, their title mirrors the degradation of my youthful energy with each reset we experience. The main goal of this mission was to infiltrate the Typhon Imperator to destroy the radial mass. Now you may be asking, what is it? This just goes to show you how absolutely foolish you actually are when there are bigger questions at hand, like magnets. The fuck do they work? Checkmate, atheists. A Cabal Legionnaire quickscopes me, instantly sending me straight back to the beginning of the mission. When I return, I showcase more of the worst skimmer piloting known to man, because little did you know, I've only had this thing for about a day and frequently forget the Konami code amount of buttons used to control it. Not only that, but you rolled another Nat 1 in investigation, as I couldn't be dick to unlock it the normal way, because that would require actually playing Guardian games. You see, I know the truth, that this event is more rigged than the elections, and there's no way I'd pay $30 for this glorified K-Drive. My preferred playstyle involves stapling my nuts to a fire ant mound just to feel something again by way of a challenge run. It's the dark truth of humanity. You either quit a contented gamer or play long enough to become a jaded warlock main. My skimmer, being a rental, means that each subsequent explosion I am adding to my Vanguard debt. I reset 2 more times on my way to Callus's ship, and then when I was having more fun than I should going straight sicko style down the trail, making my way downtown, I rammed directly into the wall. Bungie's physics engine takes no mercy on this humble sinner as I take a single tick of damage from my bad driving. I sigh in pain and return to orbit for my transgressions. My climb through this evil rust bucket of a ship was a war of attrition against the reset counter. But the worst slap in the face came deep in the guts of this dark monstrosity. As per usual, I treated these Cabal hounds to a special delivery of ATF flavored freedom. But that shadowy Uncle Bungie puppet master, always lurking, must have had a premonition years ago. Just when I thought I was safe, they conjure a scorpion turret out of the ether to reset me once again. I swear on my last remaining brain cell that that thing was never here before. The deep state rears its ugly head once again. The numbers, Mason! That government plant pales in comparison to the downward spiral that was about to come. This tiny laundry chute dropped me right into the middle of a Cabal meat grinder. Trying to maneuver in here had me flipping around the room, desperate desperately avoiding more lead than a pencil factory. Yet somehow, that wasn't the worst of it. Apparently, the checkpoint system was designed by the same sadist who'd invented 58 stat rolls on armor from a master dungeon, as it sent me all the way back to the entrance of the ship. Cue the world's saddest trombone as I sprinted back, just to get hit twice more in ways that would make God cry. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, one of those sneaky Cabal must have invested all his skill points into stealth and sent me packing once again when I thought the room was clear. My return was fueled by pure spite and a sudden surge of genius. I unleashed my secret weapon, the Colony. Forget bullets. This launcher spits out robotic spiders with an insatiable bloodlust. I sent my little obscenities scuttling down that chute, gleefully imagining the ensuing chaos. Each hit mark was like a tiny victory cry, fueling my twisted strategy. When the hits stopped and only silence remained, I knew it was finally time for me to descend from my cowardly perch and survey the wreckage. Now this room was clearly cursed, designed to expose my inner masochist. As a warlock on controller, I've got the aerial grace of a Boeing airplane. Naturally, this room decided to be my personal parkour hell. Along with the usual resets courtesy of trigger-happy Cabal, I treated my audience to not one, but two spectacular swan dives off the map. With my situational awareness failing me, the true humiliation came after. The room went about as quiet as Anthem's player base, and just when I thought I was about to taste sweet victory, a scion with CIA-level stealth training shot me in the back while I went to clear out the orb receptacle. I sat in orbit for 5 minutes contemplating my life choices before rage-fueled determination brought me back. Holy Hot Wheels vengeance was about to be served. Fast forward to 55 minutes in, and my controller began its own downward spiral. The challenge run controller graveyard was so vast that it could at least net me a solid 30 cents if I exchanged it at GameStop. My brother swears I radiate so much heat through my hands that they almost go thermonuclear. Maybe it's just the sheer power of my gaming chi flowing into the remote. If you could rig up a raw turkey to play Trials when you twist the drumsticks and slap the breast on that bitch, placing it directly into my hands, by the time a match was done, that shit would be cooked so well, Gordon Ramsay would come in and bless it. Even with a busted bumper that made me whiff every attempt at a melee, I conquered that room. When the Tormentor decided to rear its ugly head, I hit it with the ancient art of exploiting its AI by swapping elevation with it every chance I got. Once the Tormentor is transmogged into an obituary, the shadow government enacts their shadow plans to shadow enable my shadow schizophrenia, as the Taken on the Ridge disappear immediately after appearing, leaving me in a constant state of panic. Now the last room in this mission aged me 50 years in an instant during the Damaged Traveler's Chosen run. It was the ultimate test of endurance. Every enemy was shielded, and my gun might as well have been a super soaker for all the damage that it did. With my power level tanked, even a stray sneeze would blow apart my internal organs. I was worried walking into this encounter that I wouldn't be able to beat it. Using my Thorn necrotic grips and melee to spread poison and chunk enemies' health down from cover, I found a method I can use to easily hold my ground. I begin to activate the pool of resonant energy, and when the enemies spawned, I turn into the Flash on crack cocaine, abandoning that plate faster than your father going to get the milk. Ultras? Snipe from a safe distance. Those Taken void balls, their demonic screeches meant it was time for a tactical skedaddle. Rinse and repeat, all while praying to the RNG gods that I don't catch a stray bullet. After only 6 resets and a surprising amount of efficiency, finally, old Carl Weezer himself arrives. Keitel saves my hide when my tactical suicide charge approach wasn't gonna work this time, and now, we gotta get the hell out of here.
Better follow me!
We better follow him and get the hell out of here.
We better follow him.
And get the hell out of here.
I hopped onto my Vanguard rental because it was time to shred across the enclosing darkness. I grind the honker's sky rail, realizing that things were going a bit too smoothly, and I was due for a dose of the truth pill at any moment. There it is. Haha, there he is. Alright, well maybe next time I'll fly a little lower. The witness clearly predicted I'd try to jack NIMBY surfboard for myself. Its R&D department is really killing it with these technological advancements. First the super limiters, and now he was a skater boy suppressors. The only way I was gonna make it out of this one was by shredding it, and shredding it hard. Thankfully, I'm sick as fuck! I then reset 5 more times, go completely horizontal, and then reset yet another 6 times. I destroyed so many skimmer rentals that I am now 1.5 million glimmer in debt. The dealership is no longer allowing me to rent them out, so I've resorted to stealing them from guardians passing by, because much like the government, I'm not willing to pay off my debt. Well, then all of a sudden, my Skate 3 training took over, and I pulled the sickest maneuver all the way to victory. It may have taken me 2 hours and hurt my soul beyond measure, but using the ancient technique of fashion over function in a useful way, I styled my way to yet another victory for the Hot Wheels disciples. Breakneck is where this game takes a syringe loaded with around 200 cc's of cringe and administered that shit directly into my bloodstream. I might be a walking, talking disaster, but when it comes to carnage, I'm no amateur. My Hot Wheels Ferrari holds more bodies than a clown car at a mafia wedding. Sure, my track record looks like a monkey trying to type Shakespeare, but when I unleash the righteous fury, it's like a Renaissance painting of destruction. But even with my controller melting gaming chi, this mission did irreparable damage to my faith and my abilities. This place is the 7th circle of gaming hell, complete with every soul-crushing feature a developer could dream up. Bosses with immunity faces in close quarters that spawn more ads than a Raid Shadow Legends campaign. Enemies with explosive splash damage that will rush you when they see your 3mm defeater just ain't cutting through their shields. But that doesn't even come close to the end of it. There lies a single room in this mission that feels like Bungie specifically designed it to be a cock meat sandwich. Bungie's idea of a welcoming party for this brand of agony? Well, forget handshakes and a crisp 1,000-yard stare, because they only deal in the getting fisted procedure. 6 resets and a hernia later, have my heart sink to the bottom of my chest when a reset climbing this power plant sends me back to the beginning, and take a quick break to ask the Holy Spirit for forgiveness. But I should have known that we do not pray for easier battles. We pray to be stronger gamers.
Gentlemen, lock and load.
Because what was coming up was nothing short of a nightmare. Now this Hydra boss is straight vile. It is absolutely disgusting what it did to me in this room. If I could go back in time and stop myself from ever considering this challenge because of one room, it would have begun with this one. Not only do you have to contend with the full might of the Vex Industrial Complex, the boss has splash damage that can tickle you by an entire mile. The boss will also chase you down if you try to hide away at the other end of the room. Then at certain damage intervals, the boss spits out tiny Vex machines that trap you in a shield. And sadly, this process causes a single tick of damage. I reset a cornucopia of times, and when all seemed hopeless, I somehow managed to develop a winner's strategy. First, unload everything. Grenades, insults, maybe a stray tear or two. Then it was time for my secret weapon, a void grenade launcher with chain reaction, making the smaller ads in the Minotaur Ultra explode like fireworks the moment that they spawn. But despite hitting like a freight train, God gave his strongest grenade launcher to his most trigger-happy warlock. With enough determination, though, I was able to win. I cannot stress how long I was in this room for. After what felt like an eternity and enough Thorn kills to impress Dredge and Yor, finally unlocking my Thorn Catalyst, I put the boss to rest. A classic example of how ramming your head against the wall until it breaks is a viable life tactic. But imagine my surprise when all things in life that aren't Guinevere's bedchambers, things immediately turned to dick. Not only did I have to contend with a Scorpion turret along the way, sending me back to orbit once again, I had entered quite possibly the worst area I have ever been in a challenge run to date. The last room was kindergarten compared to this Warlock sacrifice chamber. Tormentors are usually nothing but dirt beneath my heels as they fall in some of the easiest ways, but in a no-hit run, their scythes can track you from the other side of the planet, and you better believe that they disobey the laws of physics. Their collisions are basically non-existent, and the splash damage is about the size of Jupiter. This isn't so bad if you can abuse their AI by changing elevation, but since there's an entire Cabal fleet in this tiny room shooting at you from all angles, and not one, but 2 of these Reapers, my chances of no-hit survival were near 0. I prepped for this like it was Doomsday. Builds optimized for nuclear level DPS. I even tried to slap on solar damage with the seasonal mods. The method used in the Warlord's Ruin solo flawless, but it left too many opportunities to get shot. I eventually resorted to using stasis, with my right bumper finally giving way for more heat generation in my palms than the fucking sun. There was nothing that I could do. I have never witnessed a piece of media destroy my self-respect faster than this room. I started this at 65 resets in an hour and a half of playtime, and I left at 169 in about 4 hours of soul-crushing defeat. I honestly believe that it was mostly just blind luck that carried me through. Battered and bruised, with 30 new lines added onto my suicide note, I stumbled out of that room with a newfound respect for those of the Tormentor variety, because for once in their Destiny appearance, yeah, they lived up to the hype. Every time I close my eyes, I hear their voice lines and the sound of a scythe projectile rapidly approaching my location. To rub salt in my wounds, Bungie placed a couple Scorpion turrets directly on a Strand source and on the way up to the end of this mission because they're sick in the head. Then when I was comfortably maneuvering through the power plant, blasting these explosive barrels to make my escape like Batman after breaking a femur when someone littered in Gotham, I neglected the one rule of explosive payloads, and that's that standing too close to them could give you a shrapnel surprise. Thankfully, you can do it without taking damage if you stand at the very back, but I was far too late, taking a tiddlywink of damage along the way. I went back to orbit just before the mission was completed and was once again kicked in the throat by the checkpoint system, sending me back to just after I beat the Tormentors. After getting back to the end and doing it properly this time, I was horrified for what was to come next, because there was no training for a run like this, and I knew it was only bound to get worse from here. This place of meditation for the Neo-Mooney people is where they discover the fact that they are indeed a river.
Believe that we either sink in the water or learn to swim. See, that's the real wild part. We are the river!
You call this deep? Give me half an hour, a scented candle, and a buttermilk ranch, and I'll out-meditate these posers in a heartbeat. Life truly comes fully into view when you're throat deep on a chicken tendy. But in true Bungie fashion, they have never been more sexually attracted to something than they are these goddamn immunity phases. This one's next level torture. Kill some poor sap with Strand, make a tangled hairball, and then beam this weird device hovering above the Minotaurs so you can finally damage the boss. Sounds manageable, until Bungie decides those Minotaurs need laser cannons with sniper level accuracy. One wrong move and my guardian butt cheeks are getting flash fried. Thanks for the warm welcome, Bungie. Real cozy. Now you may be asking how a seasoned veteran like me could rack up only 19 on this mission. Well, that's all thanks to Strand. The weave walk aspect is busted for an encounter like this. It's like Bungie texted me a GTA 5 cheat code on my phone. Port into another dimension, port back out, all while my melee energy lasts. And with that Strand woman empowerment, forget ghost mode, I was full on poltergeist. Sneak up on these chumps, give them the old suckaroony under the table, then vanish back to my astral plane. Launching the threadlings out that weave walk generates from behind cover makes killing enemies a breeze. Thankfully, the boss was your classic Minotaur experience. A couple good shield breaks and a few Strand supers later, and it's lights out. Took me 19 resets, but hey, a win's a win no matter how ghoulish Papa Rye has to get. Back during the Damaged Traveler's Chosen run, this mission was the breakneck of that challenge. Those pre-nerf Threshers were Satan's personal bodyguards, vaporizing you if you looked at them funny. Bungie, in their never-ending quest to kick me in the throat, put a tank at the end of a bridge guarded by 2 Threshers. At the time of recording, Thresher damage was tied to frame rate, meaning that if you played anything faster than a Trials player repulsing females, you wouldn't even see death coming before you just died. Thankfully, this wasn't a darkness zone, but the entire magazine of a Damaged Traveler's Chosen barely even fucking registered as damage against these. When I tried to secure a spot to shoot from, a Phalanx decided to once again go against the deep state and bash my skull in. It's just a trickle effect of bullshit. And who knew trying to take down a flying tank with 9mm bullets was a lesson in futility. I was braced for an unending beatdown, but with a decent loadout and a little distance, this went surprisingly smooth. Sneaking through alleyways, I was a one-man Cabal cleanup crew. Sniper shot, poison cloud, rinse and repeat. I burst into this bar for a Strand power-up, sweating bullets as I clear corners like a SWAT officer. The jammer then goes explosive, and I once again get a fresh dose of the Hershey squirts. The next arena has only one word I can use to describe it: massacre. The Cabal didn't even know what hit them, because I was hiding at the other end of the room once again. Then my Amazon delivery arrives, a hijacked Thresher, carrying a Drake tank, compliments of Nimbus. Okay, Nimbus's personality might be drier than an astronaut's lunch, but stealing from the enemy, that is a forklift certified move. Just don't try to chat with me on my off day, Nimbus, and you can bet that we're on good terms. Blasting through my makeshift breach, I get blindsided by a stray interceptor bolt. I swear Cabal engineers placed heat-seeking missiles on that thing. One respawn later and I lightly tap the wall with my heavily armored tank, and it does a slap from grandma's worth of damage to the hull. You know the old saying, lads, damage is damage. But because Bungie's physics engine is held together with Elmer's glue and the ghost of Halo,
Wake me when you need me.
lightly touching a piece of scrap metal with a multi-ton war machine is clearly a death sentence. You gotta be sucking me good. Each reset in this encounter allows me to savor a new reason why you shouldn't let me behind the wheel of some serious armor.
Sorry, I love you. I love you so much. I'm so sorry.
I fight the Threshers from out of their range, and when the coast is clear, I cautiously meander up the bridge. Using my super to take out the tank, everything was basically clear from there to enter the second boss room of this mission. Most encounters with the Cabal are fairly easy, only causing trouble when there's either an overwhelming force in close quarters or an immune boss acting as an enemy AC 130 above. This next encounter is no exception, as there is a lot of cover and places to shoot my long-range arsenal from. The real problem came from when I fought the imprint of Nezarec. This Tormentor might as well be god-level Goku drop-kicking a high schooler. Frosty nipples is no curse that can afflict this absolute specimen. Imagine my surprise and soiled underwear when I hit him with a stasis turret and he rushes through it, because much like Elsa, the cold never bothered him anyway. This beefy shadow beast sent me back to orbit 4 times. The winning strategy was to use ice flare bolts and just dart around the room as fast as possible, praying that this demon didn't catch up to me. I finally stasis blast him down, fall to my knees for a quick mental recovery, and cautiously fight the Cabal downstairs to make sure I didn't have to redo that fight, because it would either be 3 more resets or 30. That was straight luck. Before the grand finale, it's time for some good old-fashioned Cabal target practice, and what better way to feel like a true hero than cowering in a giant tank, blasting anything that dares poke a pixel out from behind 2 feet of steel and 12 miles of distance. Everything was working great, but when the Threshers rolled in, I went full Frodo hiding from the Nazgul here. This Thresher was sensing my fear, but I got the angle on it. That didn't stop a couple of resets, but the method was true, meaning I could beat this in no time at all. Mr. Plastic Explosive shows up ready to rock this wall with his trusty silver surfboard. As he slams through the wall, I can't help but realize that Bungie's physics engine, being the way that it is, means that this man just took damage. Because he's a cheater with no integrity, destined to die 10 minutes after meeting him, there'll be zero sympathy from both me or Nimbus. Onward we march, clueless about what our enemy was cooking up, but I'm a righteous space soldier with a knack for dispelling evil, and there's no chance when their name is on my list. Just when I thought the main cast couldn't get any better, Carl Weezer himself in Cabal Colossus form has returned as the main focus of this mission. While Rohan is busy diddling the radial mass, I'm stuck babysitting Mr. Weezer. An easier said than done achievement, as this room erupts with gunfire and barely any safe places to stand. It's the usual. Blast Carl, he goes immune, and then it's a mad dash, dodging a hailstorm of lead to the basement filled with soldiers. Then I've got to haul myself back topside without getting riddled with holes. I had to rub the old noodle for ideas and squint really hard at my monitor until the path forward revealed itself to me. I reset 13 times in this room before I developed the perfect strategy. Strand empowerment becomes my spectral escape plan. Blast Carl, grab some basement juice, avoid becoming target practice by disappearing into the ether, hide behind some canisters and unleash a mayhem amount of super spam attacks that would make Shax proud. It's at this point you've exactly 0.2 seconds to drop a rift, spawning your hungry threadling gremlins to eat these Cabal before they deliver you a righteous double dicking. Once that's done, you pretty much repeat the process, but instead you aim for the tanks. Again, this is a 50-50 method in the phase with the tank spawning, because I don't know how I'm doing it or exactly what I did, but eventually things just worked. Everything was dead and not a scratch was placed on my fragile warlock body. The only advice I could give to you is that you gotta read the prescription notes when dealing with a Rylee strategy. Your mileage will indeed vary. As old Wheezy dies, I walk over towards Rohan as he shoots out holy light before turning into vapor.
So long, Space Boss.
Nimbus tells me to get his core because, like a good chromie homie, we need to delete his browsing history before Neo Muna sees the kind of things this dusty old man was into, showing that I beat no time left without taking damage. Reconvening with this dry-ass council a little while later, I'm subjected to a cutscene that causes me advanced indigestion. The culmination of all our previous battles boils down to Nimbus turning on a couple turrets as I kill myself repeatedly with my new power. Keitel walking up some stairs, and me once again untangling the fucking game with the power of Strand. Even Uncle Bungie doesn't care about this DLC, letting warlocks everywhere witness this seizure-inducing mess for about a whole year. But there's no time to rest now, because we've got Strand a master for the 13th time this campaign. I do a sick flipping off Neo Muna's equivalent of the tower and finally comprehend the button presses to fully control my skimmer. I use my old tactic of remaining far away to get the advantage and enlist in Osiris's 8-week training program. I knew the boss was going to be a pain in the ass because its entire arena is a circle where you have to constantly definitely stay on the move, otherwise you'll get fried by a laser wall. Not only that, but there are enemies spawning everywhere, each posing the opportunity to get hit. If you can dish out damage quick enough though, and move fast, you can take care of the enemies at a breakneck pace. Since I'm at power level, I usually can take out most of the big guys before they can even see me. This is one of the missions where tactics are mostly just strike as hard as you can before you get tagged. To that measure, I equip a bait and switch cold comfort to make sure I hit the boss with everything I had, snapshot the hobgoblins on the top with my sniper rifle, and spared no ability for the enemies below. You see, headlong is that juicy little reward after almost 4 days of getting my ass beat by the previous missions. But with a total of 14 resets, mostly occurring in the final room and not the lead up, I was finally a Strand master, and it was time to make our final push into the last mission. Headlong is my solace, right before the next mission goes all out with the Callus boss fight. I have no idea how I'm supposed to handle defeating that beast, as I remember what the boss room was like. Ham brother, it ain't looking good for your Hot Wheels father. So strap into your blue and orange tighty-whities and get ready to witness the greatest showdown in Lightfall history. As the Hot Wheels Messiah, Rylee reloads all his weapons and gets ready to finish this challenge once and for all. Hard to believe it's been 10 years since this whole thing started. I take a look around and am blown away by how much things have changed. How much we've changed. You know, some Russian guy a couple centuries ago fell off the Cosmodrome and then boom! Traveler decides to place a Hot Wheels soul in his bones. And the next thing you know, I'm staring down gods with a pistol! You know, if I was the witness, I'd be a bit concerned. Cram all the souls into one person you like. I guarantee I've killed more Hive, Fallen, and Vex than were on their home planet. And not only do you have one pissed off Crayola commander coming at you, you've shaken the Hornet's nest, and the whole fleet is on alert. Gonna love the look on its face when 200,000 kill sweet business enjoyer knocks on his front door. You probably wonder what I'm doing here. Pyramid shows up on Earth, starts attacking our city. And here I am, relaxing at one of Cade's favorite noodle franchises. Used to see all the tower's greatest hits come through here. Cade, Amanda. I think I even saw Odysseus Jin at one point. Look, it looks like the Vanguard's got it covered for now. Thousands of Guardians are holding the line. Evacuated half of this city. It's a diversion while the Witness does whatever it's doing in there. But you know, I found myself feeling a bit nostalgic. I figured I'd come check out this stand for old time's sake. We're scheduled to go into the Traveler on Tuesday. High chance a lot of us won't be coming home. Before we head out, I thought I'd take a minute. Breathe it all in, you know? Been through a lot, and it's strange to think that it's all coming to a head now. We stopped the Vex in the Black Garden, stomped through the bones of the moon, and ended Crota's reign of terror. Put the Fallen back into their graves, stopped Siva from destroying everything we know, ended the regime of a tyrant, defeated those that would subjugate us, saved the system countless times, and brought back old friends. And legends past. And now that we're staring at the finish line, getting ready for that final suicide mission, I'd like to say that it's been one hell of a ride. And I'm honored to have shared it with you. Well, you know me. I'm a storyteller at heart. Did I ever finish telling you that story about Lightfall? Well, In Destiny, I am the last remaining member of my fire team. They all moved on while I continued to see the good in what was laid out in front of me. Even in an expansion like this, a lot of the beauty and hard work is something that I can stand by and appreciate. I can't believe it's been 10 years already. Sometimes I'm confused as to where the time went, but at the end of the day, it's been such a special thing to have had something be a part of my life for as long as Destiny has. I must have been about 14 or so when the Destiny 1 beta came out, and I remember sitting there for hours, grinding away. Something I'm really proud of is that my Guardian right now has been around since that very beta. You can't see it because the helmet stays on, but he's an awoken blue Rick from Rick and Morty looking ass, and I won't change him. He's perfect the way that he is. Ported right over from the beta and everything. Well, when the beta ended and my Destiny addiction was taken with it, it was all I could talk about. How it was releasing soon. Inertia, who I've been with for 10 years to this day, on our 1-year anniversary decided to take me around our hometown with a bunch of cute little notes that read things like, "Where did you first get me flowers?" And after I finally completed the scavenger hunt, it wound up taking me back home, where she reached into her bag and pulled out a copy of Destiny 1. Ever since then, I've been around for everything that Uncle Bungie has thrown my way, which it may seem that I don't enjoy it, but I like to crack jokes about the things that I love. That's my love language. Now tell me, are you a Scorpio? I'm feeling empathic. When I was 16, my family was moving to the city about an hour away from our little hometown. But since I loved Inertia and was close to finishing school, I decided to stay. I wound up waking up one day to the house just abandoned. It was like they never lived there in the first place. I naturally lost touch with family, but when the Taken King dropped, my older brother told me to jump back into Destiny. And when I came back, it was everything I could have asked for. We played for days, months, constantly upgrading our characters, watching videos, showing secret. Even though we were over the mic, every time something new and exciting happened, it was just like sitting on our couch and playing Halo with him as a young lad. The reason I'm saying all this is because Destiny is special, and I'm sure many of you share stories like this in much the same way that I do. Many of the things I'm capable of today, I attribute to Destiny. How I can speak with all of you without being a nervous wreck on camera. How I learn to express myself and tell stories. I'm naturally bad at being myself at times, but Destiny has taught me how to edit and gave me a drive to learn 3D animation, confidence that I've carried with me into my waking world. So I can confidently say, with some hair on my chest, that I'm excited to see this through. And while it's upsetting that I'll be the last one at the end of the journey from my original fire team, I can't wait to see it through with all of you. Now, while I'd like to say that Desperate Measures was an absolute beatdown, something happened to your boy. I tapped into the wild side of the Walmart parking lot, the dark side at the back where ye shall not park at 10 a.m. because I became a straight crackhead in there. If you're watching me play, in order to avoid me melting more controllers, I tried to learn mouse and keyboard. But if you see this gameplay, it's more geriatric than Osiris. It's like watching Grandpa struggling to operate a smartphone. You'll see me constantly throughout the mission misfiring my buttons, but because I had the aim of a toddler, and there's so many buttons, guys, holy shit. The fuck is Rift? Cast V! Bungie managers sat down around a table and actively decided to put Rift on V. If you want to weave walk, you better be ready to press X there, bucko. Okay, Bungie, when did you hire Satan? It turns out that my years of playing Minecraft like an MLG player, practicing my bucket strats, means that I can spin my character around so fast that sometimes Notch feels the whiplash. I might be a bit slower with it, but your boy can still headshot like there's no tomorrow. The first reset came when I was trying to switch my buttons. A Herculean task for someone trying to remember how to type the Konami code in order to change one weapon. It was embarrassing. I just wanted to put on Thorn again. I'm sorry, keyboard players, you're probably hurting inside. This mission was easy for me because of the range. It meant that I was able to stay far away, and even with my aim, I was able to pick off most enemies from a distance. I was under the impression that we have our big garden brawl with Keitel before the Callus boss fight, that I was going to be under immense amount of pressure. But would you believe me if I said that this was all one take? Not a single reset for this entire mission up until this point. Most of the Cabal were too busy with turrets or me humbly sacrificing Keitel's forces as they acted as bait for their bullets at the back of the room. The only scary part was when we retreated to the vault door and the Cabal started flooding up the ramps. Thankfully, these two homies were there to stomp them out and actively defended me, sometimes better than my teams in trials. I spurged out out a couple of times trying to avoid gunfire, but it really was just a battle of time more than anything. Then I walked through the corridors of the Ishtar Collective. I love this part because of the apocalyptic vibes it gives off. One of my favorite things in Destiny is when we see what was and actively move through it. I tried to take in the beauty of this large silo shaft, but thanks to being on mouse and keyboard, I fucking wigged out and ruined the shot at pretty much every turn. It is still shocking how good Bungie's art direction is, because after experimenting with 3D, I know how much a kick in the nuts it must have been to get this look down. To take it all in, I had to turn my HUD off as I went pre-Golden Age and acted like a disgusting little rat in the pipes. And finally, after carefully avoiding this fire so I didn't reset, we enter Callus's boss room. I love how he's actively ignoring you, but when you step up behind him, he goes, huh, and then turns around at Mach 8, just for me to scurry away like a cockroach when you flick on the lights. I was worried about this encounter going in, but I forgot rule number 1 of Lightfall, and that's that Callus has more cheese than an Italian restaurant. They patched my stair glitch by placing an invisible box there, but that doesn't matter when I skitter away to this pipe at the back of the room. You never learn, Bungie. You made your collisions too tight. But since I'm vertically challenged on mouse and keyboard, I go flying off the map. I was laughing pretty good at this one. I was just cruising through the map and then just straight off. It was so good that we had to run it back once again because I can't grapple for shit. Then it was as simple as tickling Callus's precious little dogs at the end of his feet with malfeasance until phase 2. Yep. This is that riveting Callus experience we all came here for. I'm not above this. Breakneck turned me into this. I did my homework on this fight, and I knew that in phase 2, when the dome appears, you need to grapple up the side and actively watch for the scions, otherwise you'll get tapped. I switched back to Thorn to take them out quick, and with that simple change, I beat the ever-loving fuck out of Callus. This is the godlike power he traded for? Brother, not a good trade, not a good look. Take the KFC bucket hat off your head. I fire off a needle storm, put Callus down, play the loot for good time's sake, and watch as Nimbus dooms humanity by not grabbing Ghost as he started to fly up, instead relying on me to cap my best buddy. There was a literal year where he could have grabbed that bad boy, but instead the plot needs to thicken. With Callus becoming the perfect centerpiece for a plant girl's coffee table, I beat Lightfall on Legendary without taking damage. This video took me forever to make. Between the challenge, the script writing, the animation, failing, and everything, it was just kind of a mess, so forgive me guys. I had big plans for the animation, did some voice work for The Witness, and had animations made in a storyline, but believe it or not, when trying to import something, it managed to nuke all my levels in Unreal Engine, and there was no way I'd be able to rebuild them in time for the final shape. I really want to go in fresh and record it for the channel like I have so many times in the past, so I hope that you can forgive me on this one. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters who helped put this one out. I've been saving up all the money that comes from Patreon currently to buy a device from Rococo that will help with the mocap data, and have all Patreon donos adding up to that goal. With that being said, this video is sponsored by Alan the Beast 64, Lazarus Vector, Stephen Carr, Salamander, Sindra Rivari, The Seventh Coyote, Archer, Rat King, Ardent Heart, Spilled Milk, Xavier Velnari, Jedidier, Lemon Russ, Breaker of Backs, Josue Bello, Rolk's Juicy Knockers. Hell yeah, brother. Officer Nugget, Quantum Nuts, Helia Terra, Disappointment Child, Adept. That's great. Bytrius, Fused Ice, Pyro, Tetralia, Larakia, Fitz Amisov, totally not a cat, Gabriel Shoot, Austin's Bathwater, Riven's Gaping Maw, Action Jack 2008, Cup Noodle, Bringer of Soup, Aurora, Kell of Foxes, Silva Finn, Robert Davidson, Savathoon, Shoulder Goblin, Dirtfed, Kieran Armstrong, The Dog Eater, Kanan Johnson, Van Gulta, Claude Canvas 95, Centurion Alpha, Arcus, Marshal of the Knights of Reloaded, Sunyan, Waffles, Schwanye East, Tim D, Brother Among Us, Riley's Furry Wicker, Mini Scorn Dogs, Rook. I've been playing so much chess, Rook, like I have it in my office at work and it's just nuts. The amount of chess I'm playing. I'm Tyler wanting this shit without the skill or autit. Kentucky Fried Crota, Chibi Ding Dong, Sean Kent, Bun Bun, The Hopeless Medic, Tex Does Halo, your local brain damage gay, powered by Hot Wheels Fury and Spite, Azerbane, Conquistador, that name every time I read it is so out of pocket I gotta pause on it, Alea, Kermit, Sewer of Slides, Saucy Jose, Erismorn Foot Enjoyer, Modern Gamer, The Immaculate Horse, Queffers, Perfect Question, Isaac Hartley, Sirocco, Wisa Dementia, Chapaske, Hi, I Drop My Pocket, Hard Dock, Warlock Jump is Cock and Ball Torture, Amen, Pens King 87, Luna, Trans of Genders, Vic, GGC, Master Zai, Ramenless Gold, Shenanigans 69, Rolk's Third Testicle. So Rolk's got knockers and third testicle. You learn more about these Lubraians every day. Spencer Candelaya, Skyward Echo, Not the Legend, Sona Shot, The Deep State plus Power Color equals pain for Papa Hot Wheels profit. Scorn Hub Premium, Reject Cloth, Happy, The Unhappy Cat, Darth C, Delta Shell, Mara Sov, Strap On, Grenshu, Sticky Kid 104. Why did you actively put Sticky Kid? Like, there's a million different that has to be auto-generated. You don't willingly do that. Ziz Loves Lemons, 4 Omega 4, Exo Warlock, George Neely, Xtron, Rose, Nitron, The Dweller of Rylee's Basement, Dark Souls 2, Enjoyer. I still stand by, it's one of the better ones. I mean, all From Software games are good. People hated on Dark Souls 2. I thought it was pretty good. Lalo Salamanca, The Filler of Socks, Dr. Dinky, Agenda, Cameron Spoon, Moose Master, Master of Meese, Dragon Boy SD, Fishalala, Zarillin, Ash Incendia, Legend of Swoop, Zariak, Ogstratus, Bilbo, Ahegao Kurimi, Zabiar, Ibrahim Altwiri, Grumpy Grandpa, Hero, Ixis, Fanbuscus P, Fanbuscus Pie, Dem Dirty Blues, Geo Polichinelle, insert name here, Ahmed Obashri, Jack Mage, Pathetic Mango, Momo No Legs, Woodman, The Splintered, Magneto, your friend Steven, Luke Sturch, Sharky, Later, Gamma Rad, Cameron Scholes, Rycon 6, Garrett Kane, Pepsi Main. See, I did it in a more metal voice for you, Pepsi. We graduated. Magneto, Flat Surface, Kell of Ankle Taking, Uncert, Cosmic Essence, who will be coming with me for the final shape. He's my Decius Jin replacement. I need a Titan. Might be a Warlock now. Nothing is real. Things are changing. Artless McGuire, Sensei Smalls, Mordaunt, Jonathan Blaylock. That one hammer Rylee threw into the void is questioning all. Heyman Smith. Then she flew back to the edge of a cliff and recreated it on the soft grass. She bobbed and spun her shell. It's ready. I'm gonna need to put all these together and I'll probably get the full story, Lizard. Azure Knight, Lone Ranger, Tekka Sovan. Oh my good lord, how often am I gonna forget the mug? I'm so sorry, Tekka. This is a running theme. I'm unreliable. Link, Zerx 14A, X9, 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 Ben Stanfill, XD7228, Kevin Noda, The Gamer Weenus, our Delegator Volkeen, Thrumund, Dragon Waffle, Hot Wheels Enthusiast, Kefnet the Useless, CO Camo 3, Crimbo the Undying, Bogos Binted, Samarchi Desk Hopper, Xavier Human, and Fufu Akio. You guys are amazing, and I really appreciate sticking with me even though I go dark for a while. I really want to make these videos the best I can for you, and I will admit I might have stretched myself a bit too thin on this one. This was a tough one to get done. We're gonna be cutting this so close for the final shape. So thanks everyone for watching. I've been Papa Rye, and I cannot wait to see you in the final shape tomorrow. Let's finish this fight.